I'm Showdown Joe Ferraro, and you're watching CanadianProfighter.com.
Next up to the podium, we have a gentleman who I dealt with many years ago. I met him. Always a warm individual. Invited me out to his MMA Expo to come and teach some lessons. And the first show I went to, it was a great show. But the next one I went to, wow, it was packed. He had brought some of our biggest heroes. You should have saw the fans' faces at this MMA Expo. You have guys, Dan Henderson, tons of fighters that were there, and it was like kids in a candy store. You know, candy is great for kids, but adults who love MMA, they see their stars, and it's just like they're shocked, they're in awe. And this man has done wonders in bringing some of these top athletes, some of these top fighters, right here to our home. And he's one of the biggest supporters and one of the most, put it this way, he just loves MMA. So let's hear it, ladies and gentlemen, for Gerald Chopik.
Hey, good day, everyone. You know, Joe, Showdown Joe was right. If you ever want a standing ovation, just don't give anyone any chairs. It worked out very well. You know, I love this country, and I love this province, and all that it stands for, including the fact that we can actually get up here on the lawn in front of the legislature and voice our disagreement with their current position. You know, if you watch the news every day, that's not something you can do in every country. So, you know, we begin from that perspective. We are really appreciative of the opportunity to state our position here today, and I really welcome you and thank you for participating with us. When I started Mixed Martial Arts Expo, the company in 2004, honestly, I never imagined for a moment that 6 years later, you know, like Joe in 12 years, that I would be standing here saying, come on, let's get with the program, you know. We've had lots of examples today of hardworking businesses, people duking it out in the industry today, whether you're fighters, there's the retail community, there's the nutraceutical community, there's the health and the wellness and the fitness end, and there's all the gyms and everything else that are in Ontario today working their butts off in a tough economy and still delivering good tax dollars to the province in a market which is being stifled by the inability to sanction an MMA event. We all know it's going to happen, and we all know it's going to happen reasonably soon. So, you know, the question really is, you know, what are we waiting for if we're stifling it today? Our objective here today really is to raise awareness for the mixed martial arts to, you know, the general consumer and to the government and to the politicians that are out there. I can't help but draw a comparison to some of the silly things that we've had to go through in the last few decades. And, you know, off the top, I would say the ban that the citizenry fought against for, you know, the ban on Sunday shopping. That went on for a long time. You know, that was crazy. You know, we also had the ban on having an alcoholic beverage with your meal, and you couldn't buy a lottery ticket. That was another issue. I mean, how silly those things are when we look at it today. And you know, the scenario with MMA is really no different at all. With Mixed Martial Arts Expo coming up in a couple of weeks, June 12 and 13, we're actually going to have 6 martial arts tournaments happening on the show floor. Sports jiu-jitsu, gi and no gi, submission grappling, boxing, and kickboxing, you know, all within about 20 feet of each other. But you could not put these two things together. You can't combine these things. How silly is that? I mean, it's really quite ironical, really. And it's time for the change. It's the same. I use the analogy. It's the same as, you know, I could run a 10K. I can do a 5K swim, and I can do a 20K bike, but I could not compete in a triathlon. You know, it's really time for a change. Premier McGuinty, you know, we would say that you know, it is time for change, and our government and the policies and politicians have to keep pace with that change. I really do want to make a point that now is the time to greenlight MMA in the province. You know, now is the right time to move forward. It's going to happen eventually anyway. I want to thank everyone who has come out today. I certainly want to thank everyone who has worked so hard in the background here. I really didn't do that much, frankly. There was a great team in the background, our logistics team and our public relations team to get the word out, and groups like the Substance Group that hold your UFC pre-parties and after-parties, and our graphic production team and such. I really want to thank today's speakers. Certainly Carlos Newton, from the first day that I launched the event, and I really didn't know where I was going at all at that time. Somebody mentioned this guy that lived up in Richmond Hill that used to fight in Japan all the time. I didn't know who the hell he was, and I called him and I said, would you come out? And he said, sure. And that was as simple as that. And that's the type of guy that he is, and the type of guy that you're going to find in this sport, as Mark Hominick pointed out too. To the MMA pros that are here today, and Shaw Franco and Mark Hominick and Sean Pearson, thank you as well. And Loudon Owen, chairman of the Fight Network, who's really been leading just that fight, to be able to show MMA in the province, for quite a few years now, and certainly duking it out there all the time, and has been for those 12 years. My friend Showdown Joe Ferraro, the host of MMA Connected on Rogers Sportnet, and our host today, Jeff Johnson. Likewise, Jeff, thank you for helping out so many times over the years. And the media. There's a lot of media here today. Your participation has helped raise this awareness, certainly in Toronto and beyond Toronto as well. And I want to thank all the media for showing up here today. Most of all, I want to thank all of you here today. It is a long weekend, and we sincerely appreciate the time, energy, and effort that you've taken to show up here today. Please give yourselves a big round of applause. Thank you so much for coming out today. In closing, I just want to say, Premier McGuinty, we're here today to tell you that the province's current position on the sanctioning of MMA is way out of date. We are behind the other provinces, and we are definitely behind the times. The time for change is now. So, let's greenlight legitimate business, more legitimate business in the province of Ontario. Let's greenlight more world-class athletes like we have sitting up here today from the province of Ontario, and let's greenlight more jobs in the province of Ontario. Let's take advantage of these opportunities now. Let's greenlight MMA in Ontario, and let's get it done today. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming out today. Thank you.